Subscribe to Get Curried and click on the bell icon for recipe notifications. Hey guys, it's Varun Namdar and welcome to yet another episode of Khana Pina or Cinema. Well, but before I go ahead today, let me take this time and opportunity to thank all of you across the globe for all the love that you showered on Khana Pina or Cinema. As per your request today, let's make ratatouille. Let's begin. The first thing, of course, is to heat a pan on high flame. To this, I'll be adding in some oil. While the oil is heating, I'm going to start cutting an aubergine. Well, there are various ways of making a ratatouille, but the traditional one, of course, calls for cubed aubergine. Let's cut this into cubes. Traditionally, a ratatouille is a succulent Mediterranean vegetable, but in the movie, of course, they had baked it and plated it like a fine dined restaurant. But here is a traditional ratatouille. The oil is heated up. Let's add in the cut aubergine. Now there are different vegetables that are used in this. There are some squashes, zucchinis, of course, sweet peppers, aubergines, tomatoes, pine nuts, garlic. They all go in different stages. We'll see how. But the first and the most critical thing is to cook all the vegetables almost 3/4 separately and individually in olive oil or in regular oil. Well, you may have to keep adding a little olive oil at a time, and that would be as you go because this recipe takes a little more of olive oil. Ensure that the vegetables are sauteed on high flame, and while the aubergines are getting cooked, let us move on to the next vegetable, and those are sweet peppers. You can take all the colors, you can take a single color, that's a personal choice. These also need to be cut in cubes. Well, these also need to be diced, like so. Moving on to the yellow one. While doing this, also ensure that you keep stirring the aubergine because you do not want them to get charred. Remember, the vegetables just need to be 3/4 cooked. Let's give this a stir. After a few minutes of frying, you'll notice that the aubergine gets a nice golden brown color on the outside. We need to reduce the flame and transfer this on a plate for later use. In the same oil, on high flame, we need to saute the sweet peppers. While the peppers are getting cooked, time to add in the diced onions. Let's add that into the sweet peppers. While adding in the vegetables, you could of course keep increasing, decreasing the quantity of zucchini or peppers or aubergine. I leave that to you. Time to cut the zucchini. You could of course use the green one, you can use the yellow one, the orange one, any squash of your choice. But the whole idea is to dice it like so. Time to add in the zucchini as well. Well, now if you notice, I've actually fried the aubergine separately and kept it aside. And I've taken the onion, the squash and the peppers together. That is purely because of the cooking time. The cooking time for aubergine is different from the cooking time of this. So remember that. A quick few tosses. And now let's move on to blanched tomatoes. What I have done is remove the eye of the tomato, given it a score, and dip it in hot boiling water. The next step, of course, is to dip it again in ice cold water. And that's when you see, because of the thermal shock, the skin actually releases like this. And this is nothing but blanched tomato. We need to remove the skin. We need to cut it into half and also remove the seeds. While doing this, also keep an eye on the squash and the peppers and onions. And if you think that's done, you need to remove it and keep it aside. Time to cut the blanched tomatoes. The tomatoes are done. Time to crush some garlic. Let's also roughly chop this. And with this, almost 90% of your pre-preparation is done and ready. Time to turn the gas on for one last time. It should be on high flame this time. Time to add in some olive oil. Allow this to heat on high flame. And once that's done, the first thing that goes in is the crushed garlic. Time to saute this on high flame for around 30 to 40 seconds. And the next thing that goes in, again, is one of the quintessential ingredients of ratatouille, and that is the pine nuts. Well, these are the untoasted pine nuts. Let's throw these in. Saute these again for around 30 to 40 seconds. And now to infuse and flavor the oil, I'm going to add in 2 herbs. The first one, fresh rosemary, along with fresh basil. I'm going to just stir this roughly. Give it a quick stir. And add in the tomatoes. On medium flame, we need to add in the vegetables that we had sauteed earlier. Let's toss this once. For the seasoning, of course, the first thing that goes in is some salt. Along with this, freshly cracked black pepper. The next ingredient that I'm adding in is actually sweet paprika, and this one is completely optional. Let's stir this. To flavor this further and to just add in that element of sweetness, just a few grains of sugar. And finally, one of the main ingredients of this recipe, and that is Parmesan cheese. Finally, if you please, you could also add in some parsley, chop it roughly and add that, but what I prefer is the smell and fragrance of basil. A quick stir, and your ratatouille is done and ready. Well, this ratatouille reminds me of a dialogue from the film. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great. On that note, do not forget to like and share the video and subscribe to Get Curried.